So, I just get a little note saying setting up your webinar, but it may just be streaming right now.
It is. It
It is
says it's
streaming.
streaming. If you give me the link, I'll post it as well.
Okay, I see it now. All right, I have the link, and I guess what I need to do is just put it in chat right here for you, right?
Right.
Okay, so let me do that. And hi, everyone. We'll be with you in just a second. So do you have it, Seven?
Yes, I do.
Okay,
I'm
perfect.
just gonna copy and paste.
Perfect. So,
Um,
welcome everyone. Good evening. And this is Ramola D Reports. I'm Ramola D, and I'm here with Seven of Solutionaries Media Network. We are
hey,
doing our Newswatch. Thank you, Seven, for joining me again.
thank you, Mola, for having me, and thank you to everybody out there who's watching and for giving us your time today for a second news watch. And hopefully, we're going to have an exciting show, informative show as well. But I'm just
Yes.
copying the link as I'm talking. So if I seem like I'm distracted, it's because I'm
No
trying
worries.
to
Take
post
your
the link.
time. I just want to remind people that Seven is somebody whom I've known for several years now. I'm very honored to have her acquaintance, to know her, to count her as a good colleague and friend, really.
Thank
And
you.
because she and I are pretty much working in the same space, we are speaking out. I guess we are engaging in media activities. We are helping to inform and educate the world, hopefully inspire as well. And in this time period where we see absolute mayhem and totalitarianism spreading out all around us, we are also inviting people to look at their own power and stand in their own power and speak out, because speaking out is so very important today. And the last time when we inaugurated this show, it was 2 weeks ago, and we just went through a bunch of news articles and we talked about various activities we were engaging in as activists and journalists. And, that's pretty much, I think, what we hope to do today. I think there's a lot of news over the last couple of weeks about what's been going on. There's good news and bad news. We've got governments behaving strangely. And we've got people standing up and engaging in massive rallies and protests. So those are the great things to celebrate and take inspiration from. So I don't know if Seven's ready as yet, but one of the things we're going to do is start talking a little bit about, the different countries in the world that have actually pulled people together and started to do these rallies, these public rallies and protests against these extreme corona lockdown restrictions. We saw Berlin a couple of weeks ago,
That's
and
right.
right, and now the latest is Spain, right? Seven.
Is that what's going on in Spain? I'm not up to speed with Spain at the moment.
So they had a big rally, I think. I'll see if I can find an article and we can show some images, because I was sort of looking at that on Twitter just before we started.
Okay. Um, just bear with me. I'm still posting on a couple of pages and should be done in a minute.
Okay. One of my areas of concern, that I continue to follow the news about is what's happening in Australia and New Zealand. Yesterday evening, we had a news break here with Dia Beltran and Jimothy Masters, who both have videos and documentaries out covering different aspects of this COVID crisis. And actually, I hope to mention Dia's video again at the end of this program, because she has a very inspiring video that people in Australia probably would be interested in watching. So, as people know, Australia's lockdown seems to be a little bit more stringent, and New Zealand's really, than other parts of the world currently. They've got people in forced quarantine. Jacinda Ardern came out and talked about forcing people into kind of indefinite quarantine if they refuse to take the test. And I think that's actually a big deal and a big
Wow.
story. Yeah, I want to show a news article with her actual quotes, and I want to
Okay.
really spend some time talking about it. So as soon as we get to that part of the program, let's do that because that is absolutely off the charts outrageous.
So what she's saying, she's saying that basically they'll be in quarantine indefinitely. What does that mean?
Basically, she's putting certain numbers on it. She says, if people, first of all, she's going to force people into quarantine, and if they refuse to take the test, then
Who's
she's
she? She. Who? When you say she is going to
Jacinda Ardern. She's, I guess, the Prime Minister, the Premier of New
of,
Zealand.
of New Zealand. Okay,
Right.
wasn't familiar with her name.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'll bring
right.
up the article in just a bit. We'll definitely, I think she should be a focal point of a whole section tonight. And what she basically says is if people don't agree to doing the testing, then they will have to stay for another 14 days until they assent. And if, what is this?
Wow,
This is indefinite incarceration. This is
wow,
threat and intimidation on a grand scale.
wow. Well, there's
Sounds criminal to
actually
me.
uh, there's some stuff I want to show you. Actually, I just because you said that, I just remembered something that must be seen because it
Okay.
shows that this whole pandemic.
Mhm.
It's a document which basically shows this was all planned. I mean, there's been a few of those documents, but this one is published by I think it's on the WHO's website, and it shows the whole hook, line, and sinker. It is literally, it's the smoking gun. It shows you clearly that the whole thing was planned. And so when you see these draconian measures being taken by any world government, it shows you that there's something much more sinister afoot. You see what I mean? Because
Yes, absolutely.
because the reality is if this thing was planned and it's an exercise, it's not even, it's still an exercise, and it's written, this document, I have to find it. I got it yesterday. A good brother friend of mine, Patrick Longmore, he sent it to me, and
Okay.
I want to flag that up. So just as you're saying that, because it shows you the absurdity of this, and the
I should
cruelty, there's cruelty involved, in these measures that are happening. It's abuse of people's rights, human rights, all kinds of rights, all kinds of laws. And so I really want to flag that up. So please remind me, Ramola.
definitely,
So,
definitely. I also want to, in reference to that, Seven, I should also mention a recent news break I did where I literally looked at two particular documents which actually prove that this is not a pandemic, that this is not real, that this is a planned, simulated training drill and exercise.
social engineering, basically.
Correct. Which is related to the United Nations and which is related to the the World Health Organization, and it's
That's
related
right.
to the 192 countries of the World Health Organization who signed off on a treaty back in 2005 agreeing to roll out these pandemic kinds of simulation exercises. And then with this document that was, published just last year from the GPMB, the Global Preparedness Monitoring Board, which is kind of an offshoot of the WHO, okay, and is headed and boarded by a bunch of people from around the world, different countries around the world,
Mm,
um, all of whom are now kind of laying down the law to the rest of the 192 countries and demanding that these drills be rolled out. And in particular, two drills simulating a massive pandemic, and one of them, well, I think one or two of them involving a lethal respiratory pathogen. In other words, something like COVID-19, the SARS-CoV-2 virus, quote unquote, quote virus, if it really exists. And so this was a demand document rolled out just before their event 201 in October 2019.
right.
So it's all connected
I
and
think
it's
it's probably the same document that I must be referring to then. I'll
okay.
have to
So
pull
it's
it up.
yeah, I do have it. We can easily pull it up. So
I think it's
So,
important that we do, actually, because it is a smoking gun, and it's really important for people to recognize that, everybody's lives are being railroaded and abused and basically catered to in the most draconian, abusive way for people who are basically on a trip. They're making this thing up, they're going on along. It's a whole simulated plan. People are losing their businesses, people are having to wear ridiculous masks walking down the street. I saw on the train the other day, Ramola, I think it was on Saturday, and we've had some seriously hot weather in the UK. I mean, ridiculously hot weather. And there was a small child on the train, and she had a green mask on, and the child was struggling to breathe. The mask was
oh,
wet
it's
all here.
awful. It's
And the
horrible to see
mother,
children with a mask on.
check this out, the mother looks at the child, she pulls the mask over her nose. So the little bit of breath, she was literally struggling, and then she had to literally lie down. And I was watching this thinking, wow, wow, all of this is a social engineering exercise. People are having to fit their lives around people who are happy to stop their lives and actually cater and take on this absolute bullcrap, Ramola. And I mean, I've seen a couple of podcasts with lawyers, which is actually very, very great to see, because it means people are looking at the laws in terms of what can be done about this. Because the reality, fact, a group of people have decided to take it upon themselves to abuse humanity on the scale that we've seen. I mean, we're talking about people are dead because of this. We're talking about people have lost their businesses, people have lost their homes,
People are
people have
committing
lost their life.
suicide because
I
of
mean,
this.
the magnitude of this crime cannot be understated. We're talking Nuremberg, and actually, perhaps is the thing that needed to happen in order to really clean our world up, because most people are waking up to the reality of
That's
the
very
horrors
true.
of this.
Yeah.
These horrors, we know, you and I know, as targeted individuals, we've known there's been a secret, abusive underworld going on, which
Correct.
is
And
being
I
run.
think it's time to speak openly about that in relation to what's going on currently.
That's
Because
right.
if people can't believe that these so-called leaders would do the kinds of things they're doing now, well, just look at what they've been doing to the targets of their, evil and despotism and ire for decades, not centuries. Well, I guess in a larger sense, centuries. But this particular lot that we are currently dealing with on the planet, they've been, acting against people they call targets for decades, for years and years and years and decades.
That's right. And most of this stuff has been carried out. Most of what we're seeing with COVID-19, this whole scam operation, this Truman Show reality show,
Correct. And
it's
what
a
you
Truman Show kind of madness.
and that
We've been
particular
living with
incident that
this.
you relayed just now, Seven, sorry to cut into you, but I just wanted to say
That's
that the
okay.
child struggling to breathe, I mean, that is something that humans should be responding to. People on the train should be saying, hello, that child is unable to breathe, but everybody is silent and everyone is because of the situation. And the situation is about behavior modification. This is what they're trying to
Absolutely.
roll out. They're trying to silence everyone and get everybody to literally smother themselves, asphyxiate themselves and their own children. And there are so many things wrong with mass. I think we went into some of that the last time. I suppose
Yeah.
it's something we should keep talking about until people stop wearing these masks.
Well, actually, I've heard of reports of people going around different parts of the UK and telling people, you know, going from person to person, take off your mask. It's okay, you can take off your mask. And we must engage people. We must talk to people. I talk to people all the time when I'm out and about. And it's amazing, how many people respond positively, when they realize, because people have been in a state of terror.
Yeah.
This is psychological terror. As much as it is a social engineering, we're talking domestic terror here, because people have been terrified to their wits. When we look at
Well,
what's going on in the schools, the new measures for the children that are going back to school in September, and all the draconian laws about being able to detain children without parents' consent. There's been a lot of talk about detaining of children. If a child has a cough, they are able to basically take the child. Now, I know that there's been a lot of talk. Some people are saying without the parents' consent. Some say no, it's not without the parents' consent. So there's a few things I want to flag up on that scale, because that's a conversation that has to be brought to the awareness of the people. The new laws that will affect children that are returning back to school in September, and how children's lives will be changed forever. Now, we know that there's the rollout of 5G, which is, we're saying 60 gigahertz, but, I was listening to a really amazing panel with Kate Shamarani, Lena Poo, who is a 5G expert, Mark Steele, 5G expert, and there was a lawyer on there. There was a brilliant panel, and we're talking about levels like 300 gigahertz, levels of radiation that they're talking about is unlivable, unlivable. So you're having a situation where they've got all these laws in terms of detaining children. And at the same time, they have 50, 60 gigahertz, let's say, argument's sake, of radiation with 5G being put into the schools. So they'll switch on the radiation, children will automatically become sick, and then they'll be able to quickly take those children and detain them, saying, oh, your child's sick of COVID. This is crime of mammoth proportions. I mean,
is
laws that have
absolutely
been put
crime.
into coronavirus bill and the Control of Infectious Disease Act, I think it was 1984, and it was amended this year. It includes things like you were talking about, being able to bulldoze people's houses and, take people's property, take people. I mean, all of this has been created on a simulation that is not even real, something that is being engineered, pre-engineered. Even if there was a virus, it's being engineered.
Mm-hmm.
This is the important point for people to put into the equation. There are people sitting in offices, in corporations, meetings, secret meetings, who are organizing, orchestrating control of everybody's life. That is exactly the
Mm-hmm.
document.
Yeah, so
Thank you, Ramola.
absolutely, I did a very long video. I didn't intend to do such a long video, but I ended up doing a very long video on this document. I went through it in great detail and talked about it. And, let me just go to page 10, which talks about, I think it's page 10, which has the info about the, requirement to have an exercise.
So can you
And
just
people
give
can
people an
see it.
overview of what this is, Ramola, for anybody just tuning in now, so that they can understand and they can also know where to find this, because this is a smoking gun.
Sure. Yeah. What I would suggest is just type GPMB in your search engine, and you'll see it right on top because it's part of the WHO. It's what's happening now is as the WHO is being defunded, they are striving to move their operations to this board, the global Monitoring Preparedness Board. And it has, and I'll show you towards the end of the document, you can see who is a part of it. But take a look at this page, progress indicators by September 2020 required. They have a bunch of steps that they require people to take. This is like a demand document for everybody who's a part of WHO. And this is one of the things they say the United Nations must strengthen coordination mechanisms. Okay. And what they're demanding is that every country come up with its own plan for emergency preparedness and humanitarian. They use you see, they use very deceptive terms. They use the terms of health and humanitarian emergency. But what they're really saying is we need you to have a very strict system in place for monitoring and surveillance. We're going to call it medical surveillance and health monitoring. But through this
Mm.
means, we are going to control the entire population of your country. And you are required to have these plans. You're required to have these plans at the national level, the regional level, the state level, which I think has now been accomplished. Every country that has signed on to this, and see, this is part of the criminality that you just talked about.
Right, and
Our
this was done when, Ramola, because what we need people to understand is to recognize that this is pre-engineered situation that we're living in. It's not, oh my God, there is a virus going around, we have to contain it, we just discovered it. No, we're talking about people going out of their way, a whole system of people coming together and putting this document together, which is as early as, what is it, September?
This document was September 2019, but it builds on what the United Nations and the World Health Organization have been doing for decades, right from the 1960s. They've been having these international health regulations meetings, and they've been signing agreements since then. So in 2005, a document was signed, and that's,
Yeah,
the
it
other
states it
document that
here.
this goes in conjunction with, where they literally signed an agreement to go ahead and run these kinds of drills, among other things, in addition to setting up the infrastructure for medical surveillance and health monitoring, and also
Right.
changing the laws. Now, legislation is a part of the deal. So these countries have um, committed to changing the laws in their countries to permit this kind of extreme invasiveness and extreme takeover. So this
Yes.
is this is world government in action. This is the United Nations and the World Health Government in action. It's not health. Health is being used very deceptively in a very doublespeak kind of way. So if you look at just these three paragraphs over here, let me just read them. The Secretary General of the United Nations, with the Director General of the WHO and Under Secretary General for Humanitarian Affairs, strengthens coordination and identifies clear roles and responsibilities and timely triggers for a coordinated UN system-wide response for health emergencies in different countries and different health and humanitarian emergency contexts. So what
Mm.
this really means is they have decided, they have acquiesced to this plan that the UN and the WHO are working closely together to really engage all the countries that are part of the UN to engage in this system-wide response. Second paragraph, the United Nations, including WHO, conducts at least 2 system-wide training and simulation exercises, including one for covering the deliberate release of a lethal respiratory pathogen. This is the smoking gun right here.
Yes, just hold on. I want to just pause you on there so that you can repeat it, Ramola. It says, including right here,
Mhm.
including one for covering the deliberate,
Mhm.
intentional release of lethal respiratory pathogen. That is a crime of mammoth proportions.
Yes, exactly.
It's a crime of mammoth proportions, people. You need to understand and overstand the magnitude of what we're
Oh,
showing
sorry, I'm
you here.
doing this very badly, but this is it.
Exactly.
Mm.
Thank you, Ramola.
You're welcome.
This paragraph that Ramola has just circled is showing the world that everything that you're seeing happening to our world, to your personal life, removal of family members, detainment of family members, the people going into hospital and being murdered, actually putting on a list saying this is one of the people that died of this COVID situation. It's all planned here. It's all planned here.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what we're seeing is the end result of people coming together and deciding, criminally deciding, unlawfully deciding, they are going to railroad every single person in humanity to have to fit our lives around this crime of mammoth proportions. Nobody should be taking this lightly. Nobody. Because what has happened, I mean, we're talking about everything from the roads have been rerouted in terms of the traffic has been changed. You go into a station, change the entries places and the exit places, every single sphere of human existence, they have utilized this tool, which is a weapon against average man, woman, and child. And when I say man, woman, and child, children have not been exempt from this. Using this as a guise now to be able to even take children from their parents.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the magnitude of this is why we want to enforce putting in the 5G, because the 5G creates symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
Also, we have to remember that people also have smart meters in their houses. So besides 5G, we've got the what do you call those fiber optics have been put under people's houses in different roads,
Yeah.
dangers of the fiber optics. Lena Pearl was actually talking about that in the panel. The panel I just referred to is called turning turning the tables on 2020. Turning the tables on 2020. It's a panel and it's got a brilliant host of people. Kate Shamarani, you've got Mark Steele, you've got Lena Poe, you've got a lawyer, I can't remember, his name was Robin something.
We'll have to find the link and post it, and I guess
Yeah,
everyone should watch
but
it. It
it's
sounds really good.
definitely
Yeah.
worth watching. I mean, one of the things they flagged up is anybody considering putting their children back into school in September, you need to know that you're doing it at your child's risk. If created, everything has become a danger zone. Just being
Mm-hmm.
able to go to a child to go to school, you don't know what will happen to your child because they've already put us on notice.
Yes, and this is where a
Possibility.
lot of parents, I mean, the parents who are paying attention, are beginning to take their kids out of schools and talking about homeschooling and setting up their own schools. And literally, this is the time because when you read about what they're trying to roll out, because, over here, I've also got something in the mail from the local school system because they have plans for the kids. They don't want the kids in school the whole week, and they're going to continue their social distancing. They're going to do kind of hybrid learning, partially remote and partially in the school. And what else? All sorts of things. The younger kids, they're doing part-time days. Um, oh, kids have to wear the masks. So this is like, what is this? Is this focus on learning, or is this focus on subjugating children and forcing them to follow your rules and laws? So
Absolutely. I mean, this is damaging emotionally, psychologically, to a child's well-being, physically, the child can't breathe, can't think, can't bond, every aspect of the child's life is being railroaded. Now, we have to remember we have a serious problem of trafficking. One of the things I really wanted to show is that there's been massive protests inside CNN News. I don't know. I don't think we flagged it up last time, but I would like to be able to flag it up if it's possible. There's been a number of protests inside CNN and up in Hollywood, basically. And people are speaking up, and it's called Save the Children. And finally, people are standing up against Pizzagate and all of the child trafficking that's going on. There's been a massive movement of people that have just suddenly emerged. And, that's the positive side of this whole COVID gate situation, is that it's so vile and nasty, has forced people into looking at what is going on in our world. And because this thing with Pizzagate has been around for quite a while, since I think
Few
probably,
years.
yeah, it's been at least 2017, they've been flagging Pizzagate up, maybe even a little bit before. And
Hmm.
it's only now that there's boots on the ground. People are actually saying, if we don't speak up for the children, who will? And so that is absolutely fantastic. And I want to give a big shout out to all the people out there who have been participating in the Save the Children protests. I'm a victim of the entertainment industry. As many people know, I am the creator of Dancing with Stars, Strictly Come Dancing, You Are What You Eat, 10 Years Younger. There's a whole catalogue of work which actually was stolen from me. And
Hmm.
so my experience as an adult being abused by the entertainment industry led me on this particular journey.
Hmm. I just
Uh,
found one of those Save the
oh,
Children videos.
wonderful. Oh,
Hmm.
wonderful. We can play a little bit of it. Can we open it up, Ramola, to make it
Uh,
large?
that's sort of taken from an iPhone or something, so it's not very large in
No,
itself.
you can actually go to the bottom here. Yes, it should open the screen up here. Oh, is that?
Is that
Yes,
bigger?
that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's great. So what you're looking at here is people have stormed the CNN news network, and I think they're scheduled to actually storm more news networks. I think there might be another protest on the 22nd of
Okay,
August.
that's great.
Some more protests. Oh, okay, it's a very
I
short
guess that
one.
stopped. Yeah, let me see if there's
Yeah.
any others. I'll just look for another one.
So if you say people speak up, there's some really great ones of people speaking up. I think in Hollywood Boulevard, there are now people who are congregating, with their placards about the child trafficking, and basically people saying this has gone on long enough on our watch. Yeah,
Hmm.
this is a great one. They're screaming in there, save the children. So, and this is not on the news. This is huge. You have the mass populace who are, storming into TV networks and actually screaming, save the children,
Hmm.
and, stop child trafficking, children's lives matter, and all sorts. And it's not been on mainstream media.
No, this is
You
the
know,
kind of thing that's hidden away on social media, isn't it? It.
what does that tell you? This is a media that most average person looks to. Whoever's got a television still in their house. I don't have a television. I would never have a television again, even though my work is all over mainstream and is, some of the biggest selling work across the world. I personally would never, after what they've done to me for 17 years, these people are abusers. They are abusive. They think they have an absolute right to abuse, to steal, terrorize, torture, murder people all around my show. Strictly Come Dancing is one death after another. Just type in how many deaths around that show which belongs to me, and to steal the rights of my famous work. This is why I've been through hell and back, people. I've been through hell and back, and that's what put me onto this journey. You know, I took a massive case and won a massive case against 10 corporations and individuals, never been paid, you know, and, I've learned a lot, learned a lot. And, I've learned that, like Ramola, she's another targeted, very talented, creative sister here who has actually been through hell and back again, and we have this situation going on. So
It's
you
going
have
on, Seven. It continues, and I gather that my doing what I'm doing, is of great interest to the criminal element of our society, the mafiosi element, who just happen to have planes, drones, SUVs, Zoomers, and intelligence agencies at their disposal, and who think, it's perfectly okay to come and literally hunt me on a daily basis with their drones and helicopters over my room and, SUVs going up and down, just charging up and down the street, constantly trying to GPS track, constantly aim microwave energy pulse shots at me. So, how is this going to stop me? It's not going to stop me, There is nothing lawful about what they are doing. Absolutely nothing lawful, because I have every right as a journalist and as a citizen of the world and as a free being on the planet to speak my mind and to do these podcasts and engage with people like you, who have so much to opine and report and editorialize and comment as well. So, what we are doing here is nothing but a media conversation. It's pretty much the same kind of thing that Fox News does with Tucker Carlson or Sean Hannity or, Laura Ingraham or any of those people on CNN, Wolf Blitzer, etc. They sit around and they talk and they exchange ideas and opinions and they talk about the news, about what's happening, right? That's exactly what we are doing. So
yes,
are they being targeted as we are? They're not, because they're not putting the truth out. We are, and that's the difference,
and that's what you have to understand, people. When people look at the fact that people are storming CNN, and that has not made mainstream news, what does that? It tells you that the mainstream media that we currently have don't want this information out. We do not want information that children are being trafficked to be out. Why is that? Because they're complicit, because they condone it, because they agree with it. Okay. And so it becomes up to people like us, and people get murdered. Isaac Pappy, he came out, he said he got killed. There's people that have been bringing this out from the entertainment industry. And I go as far as to say our entertainment industry needs great reforms. It needs great reforms. A lot of the damage and abuse that many of us have suffered, me 17 years, has come directly from people who believe that they have a God-given right to do whatever they want to whoever they want in the entertainment industry. I really believe once we clean up the entertainment industry and we start basically putting people who are ethical, who have concern about humanity and the most vulnerable being children, then we'll be in a different space completely. A lot of what we've seen in terms of the fear factor that has been pushed with the whole COVID situation has been perpetrated by the mainstream media. And unfortunately, people who have televisions in their house, they just take it hook, line, and sinker that that is what's happening. Whatever the mainstream media report is happening, they have to follow. You don't have to follow it. In fact, you have a duty not to follow it, because by following it, for those of us who are risking our lives on a daily basis to bring the information to the rest of the world, you're making it harder for us. People who go along with this program make it hard for the rest of us who are trying to bring people the truth. It's a bit like if you have a union, you're working in a corrupt organization, people are getting killed, people decide to strike. Okay, people say, that's it, you're not coming back in until you change your policies and you change your laws and you change things for everybody. If you have people that continue to go to work while people have come together in unity and said, okay, the only way that we're going to change this is by making a stand and actually standing up and saying, okay, we've had enough, like suffragettes did, and people have done throughout the ages, you know, people have come out and said, we're not taking this anymore. It's by those people who came together and took a stand, that's when pain happens. People who continue to go into work and say, look, I've got to pay for my rent, I've got to pay for my family. Everybody's in the same boat. We're all in the same boat here. You know, you can't think, okay, you know, I'm just concerned about my family, because what happens to your family happens to everybody's family. And we're looking out for the macro. I could look out for just myself. I choose to look out for everybody. Look out for Ramola chooses to look out for everybody. You know, Alfred, many other people, there's many other people out there who are doing a wonderful job looking out for everybody, because every single person has to get on board with this now. This is our opportunity to change things in humanity, to change these horrors that are being done to children. People going into CNN are not going in because it's a few children. We're talking about millions of children. Millions of children. It was a case on the 11th of March 2020, just before this whole scam situation with the COVID madness, COVID madness. It was a case that went into the Senate. 17.5 children trafficked and slave traded. 17.5 million. Okay, and that's just the ones that they have recorded. This has been going on in all of your watch.
And you know, the thing to remember there, Seven, is that this system as we have known it up till this point in time, it's this system which has facilitated and permitted that amount of trafficking of children, that vast number of children.
Yes,
And you know,
because
the
it
horrible things that are
knows
done
it.
to them.
Yes,
So
and we're
this,
going to show some things in a minute. The system has, when we say the system, so we're talking about the media, the
yes.
governments, even social media, because those of us who put out the truth, you know, we're having our reports removed.
Yeah. And we've got all these
Fortunately,
5 tech companies, the big tech companies, right? Google and Facebook and Twitter and Reddit, getting together and actually swearing to censor, and they've started to do it. They were to remove videos, remove posts, remove tweets of people who are actually putting the truth out. Just now, I looked up Pizzagate just to find out when it started, and apparently it started around the time of the 2016 presidential election. But guess what came up? The Pizzagate conspiracy theory. So you see, the news articles that are the news outlets like CNN, etc., and the Daily Mail and Express in the UK, which are characterizing Pizzagate as a conspiracy theory, are the ones that are right at the top of the search engines. And that's how they are brainwashing and mind-washing the masses of people.
and why they put it as a conspiracy, a theory, because conspiracy literally is a crime. When 2 and more people get together to commit a crime, that is in law, in criminal law, that is under the Thefts Act in the UK. There's 1968, 1970. There's various different parts of Thefts Act which cover conspiracy. So that's actually a real law, and people can go down for conspiracies. The issue is theory. Theory. This is not a theory. It's not a theory that they are withholding important information pertaining to vulnerable people, vulnerable children, defenseless children's lives. Withholding that information. preventing people from talking about that information, preventing people from talking about targeting and the slave trading, because the targeting situation, this is also an electronic slavery going on. It's commercial. It has a price tag to it. It's commercialized surveillance of people. And we got the dark web where people are watching people are watching people inside their homes. People are being neuro monitored. Where do you think was being transmitted from? These are commercial enterprises. They're making money out of this. It's a
You
form
know,
of slave trading.
that is, in fact, one of the ways in which I have begun to understand the whole quote unquote system. The system is not, as people imagine, government, kindly, benevolent, paternalistic government watching out for you. The system is run by these very large private companies that are making a ton of money. And they are doing this, they are gaining their profits through these very dark mechanisms of trafficking children, trafficking women, and selling a
Mm.
lot of video and audio and whatever they get out of it, snuff films, etc. There's a huge porn industry associated with that. And then all sorts of other industries. They're all industries, they're all private companies that are engaging in covert trafficking of drugs, women, men, children, etc. And oh,
Anybody
that
that's vulnerable.
connects with gun trafficking and arms trafficking and all that other stuff as well, and connects with all of and that's where the connections occur, with the defense industry, contracting, etc., and then it links up with government. And
Mm.
you mentioned neuromonitoring. Yes, there's a whole neuroscience industry out there that is also through targeting, through layers and layers of targeting, actually snooping on the minds of people, and then that connects with the RFID industry, with the sensor industry, etc. There's a lot of covert implantation going on. And this connects, of course, with the intelligence agencies, with MK Ultra over time, and Project Artichoke, Project Bluebird, all kinds of surveillance COINTELPRO
Mm.
programs. So there is a very dark covert network. There's a shadow network in action, and it's all about private industry. It's about this kind of covert trafficking and exploitation of the mass of people who
Gross.
blindly trust the surface facade, which is, our world leaders, quote unquote, who get in front of podiums and tell everybody to wear a mask, even and smother their children, because it's so important to worry about non-existent viruses.
Oh, wow. The mind boggles for me, Ramola. I look at this and I just see the blatancy of the abuse that's being done, perpetrated to humanity, and the complicitness of the naive. The naive who acquiesce, who go along with this because they don't have. I mean, I think majority of the 99% are good people.
Mm-hmm.
There are people, when I see people in a mask, I think, wow, you're a good person. You just want to get along. You want to follow the law,
Oh,
follow the
absolutely.
rules,
Yeah.
and you want to do as you're told. And in some ways that's commendable. Commendable. You see people who are,
It's very trusting of people. These are the innocent and the trusting, but
yes,
there are
it's
also the
become a danger.
compliant. Yeah.
It's become a danger to themselves and the rest of us because we need everybody on side in order to become the effective, empowered authority that we are as the 99%. In order for us to assert our authority, we have to be the enlightened and empowered one to basically be able to assert the fact that what is taking place is absolutely criminal. Once we know we have a media who doesn't care children are being harmed, obviously they're complicit to the harm. It's like aiding and abetting, even if they weren't perpetrating it, which most of them are probably. It's called aiding and abetting. When people cover up crimes, you are aiding and abetting, and you're helping to continuously perpetrate suffering of other people. I personally feel that we've come to this world to alleviate human suffering. This is my personal belief. We've come to this life to help each and every one of us in our small ways to help to make life better for the next man and the next man and the next man. And so that we collectively can leave something for the next generation, and hopefully they pay that forward by example. So when you have a culture which turns a blind eye and actually covers up and allows and acquiesces, we basically are doing ourselves a great service as a humanity. We might as well be animals. We might as well be animals if we don't have the intelligence and the wisdom and the concern and the compassion and empathy and care and bravery to stand up when things are absolutely out of order. What are we doing here? What are we doing here, people? You tell me what we're doing here if we're not fighting for children. Shouldn't even be fighting. We should just assert what we need to do. So let's share some articles, because how much time have we used so far, Ramola?
We've used a lot of time. I'm just looking at the time and thinking about my next podcast, which I have to do right
Okay,
after this one. So we just kind of need to keep moving over here and finish
okay,
showing whatever articles we need to show.
okay. So what time, how long have we been so far?
I really don't know exactly when we started, so I can't answer that question actually.
Okay, so let's whiz it through. I've got a couple of things to show. Is that okay if I share screen?
Sure, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so hopefully, let me just make sure that I will hopefully get, well, I'll click it. Am I going to come on to it? Because I want it to open up. Oh, I am. So somebody sent me a message. I'll have to see if I can get rid of that. Let me see if I can get rid of it first, Ramola. Wait a minute.
Go right ahead. I can tell people briefly while you're looking that video that I was talking about earlier, the one that covered, discussed the document A World at Risk and also the International Health Regulations of 2005 is Newsbreak 81. So, please go to my channel and find
Sorry, somebody
Newsbreak
sent me
81.
a message. I just need to get rid of it.
So
It's something. Oh,
we
I
are
think it's
seeing your
probably.
message.
Oh, this is it. This is in Madrid. You were talking about Madrid.
That's right. Yes.
Thank
Yes.
you, Roy. He sent me a message. He sends me some great stuff. Thank you, Roy. I appreciate that. I'll plug up in a minute, but I want to show you some things that are happening now. As many people know, there is a march in United March Freedom in London, and it's at Trafalgar Square on Saturday, 29th of August 2020 at 12 noon. So that's 12 o'clock noon. And it's for no more lockdowns, no social distancing, no masks, no track and trace, no health passports, no mandatory vaccinations, no new normal. Restore all human rights that have been violated. Excellent. Now we've got top world class doctors and nurses speaking out with real truth on COVID-19 against GMC constraints. Okay, so we've got Professor Dolores Cahill, Dr. Adil, Senator Dr. Scott Benson, Dr. Sherry Penny, we've got Andrew Kaufman, we've got Dr. Eric Nepute, Mikhail Norway, Kate Shamarani, we've got Dr. Kevin Corbett, Piers Corbin, we've got Mark Steele, I mean, there's a number of people that are going to be speaking at. This is a mammoth event of, it's going to be so powerful. Everybody needs to share this so that those people who can attend, this is my Facebook page. I'm just sharing from there. So basically, nothing is more important as time is very short, because we know that they're looking to lock everything down. The government are voting for a 2-year extension of their emergency COVID-19 powers in September 2020. The first 6 months was a disaster. This must not be allowed to continue. Second lockdown would be devastating. We have to take a stand. Please come and support us. Working together, we can win. United, we win. Divided, we fall. So very true. And well done to everybody who's put this together. Big shout out to all of you. Big shout out to Kate Shamarani and Mark Steele. And I should be doing a panel very shortly with them where they'll be updating us on all of this. So I would
Wonderful.
say, if you want to go onto my Facebook page, which is Starseed7, you'll see my picture here, which you see me here, just to make sure that you're on the right page. And, you know, you can click this and you can share it around, because we've got to get the information around. I wanted to show you some other stuff. What else? There's some other stories. Some news.
Is there any of your recent videos or conversations you want to tell people about that people can
Uh,
watch?
Alfred and I did a wonderful interview recently with Miles Johnson. That's on there as well. That's there.
Okay.
And basically, I can't understand where the other stuff. Okay, Public Health England's exaggerated death statistics are a scandal that has fed fear. But now it's actually coming out in the Daily Telegraph. Now they're admitting that the exaggerated statistics and it being scandalous. That's an understatement, people. This is horrific. Under the Nuremberg trials, I mean, this is a crime of mammoth proportion, what's taken place. And fortunately now, we have mainstream press that is fortunately now flagging it up. We've had absolute abuse. It's scandalous. It's scandalous.
It
And
is, and
everybody needs to,
that particular issue about the death numbers being inflated and wrongfully counted, that's been going around, and I'm glad a lot of doctors are speaking out about it. You know, I did a news break just recently with a gentleman from Central Illinois who spoke to his local county coroner and found out that the coroner himself was kind of whistleblowing and revealing that the figures reported by media and reported by the hospitals is far in excess of the actual number of deaths, literally
absolutely.
10 times more.
If
So
anybody died of COVID, because a lot of people, it's reported, who had the flu jab are people, because you see, these flu jabs have been weaponized for a long time. That's why they were advertising, get your flu jab, get your flu jab. The other thing, people, is that in September, they're going to be sharing everybody's medical records. And so if you don't want your medical records to be shared with all these private companies and psychopaths, you need to contact the NHS and opt out. You do not want your medical records in the UK being shared with anybody. And you have to do it before September, because in September, they're going to be sharing. Because basically, they were going to do it. They put it in a little corner where you can't see it, and they put report on it so nobody knows. It's only those diligent people who are researchers that will find it and think, hold on a minute, what's this going on? So make sure that you opt out of of your medical records being shared with third party that you don't know anything about, because we're dealing with a dangerous climate, dangerous individuals. You know, the NHS has been weaponized. If anybody remembers, in 2015, there was Lockheed Martin that was bidding for the NHS. This is an arms and weapon company, a munitions company. They deal with guns, rifles, bullets, you know. This is the industry that they are, and they were the ones bidding to take over the NHS. When you understand and overstand that these are the type of companies that are now involved in healthcare, you understand that it has been weaponized. Virgin Media have the contracts. These people have terrorized me for the last 17 years. This is a terrorist organization. Those of you who have still got your contracts with those companies like Virgin, you should, and EE, you should change them. Change them. Yeah, because you're supporting it. So anyway, this is
I think we talked about it the last time. Virgin also connects with NHS, right? I mean, it
that's right.
supports and runs NHS.
Yeah, they have the major contracts with the NHS. They've weaponized it, you know, and that's why we're seeing the fallout we're seeing, you know. Anyway, turning the tables on 2020, I mentioned it. This is worth a watch. It's on YouTube. It's wonderful. This is Dr. M. Adil. This is a lawyer, Robin Pilbrook, Lena Powell. This is Mark Steele, S. Tenpenny, and Kate Shamarani. Excellent, excellent, excellent. And this is something that is going to, has it happened already? Okay, your privacy matters. This is, I think it's 19th of August.
Is it
I think it's
a
something,
regular weekly show or something like that?
yeah, it's called Legal Shield UK Facebook page. You can check that out. I've never seen it before, but I saw it. I thought I'd flag it up today for anybody who's interested to look at how you can protect your privacy. Now, this is something that we were talking about.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, I
this
think that's
is,
important. Can we just pause there for a second and we can look at that?
which one? This one here,
Yeah, 25A.
25. All right, 25A. Yes,
And
okay.
this is
So
the
that's
Emergency
basically,
Response Act from Australia, right? Yeah.
yes, but what they're saying, I mean, according to what this person said, Australia don't think it's not written into every act across the world. Okay, so
Um,
this is the South Australia COVID-19 Emergency Response Act 2020. So what we see is an act to the various temporary modifications of the law of the state in response to COVID-19 pandemic for other purposes. So as you know, this pandemic has all been staged, and this stage thing, because remember, we have a child trafficking situation. So could it be that we have a new mechanism for child trafficking, legalizing it, so that basically it becomes official, where they can come and take children and do what they want? Because it says removal of children, 25A1, without derogating from section 25, an authorized officer may, for the purpose of ensuring compliance with any direction under that section, remove a child from any premises, place, vehicle, or vessel to a place of residence of child, or to the hospital or to a quarantine facility as authorized officer thinks fit, may in doing so use such force as is reasonably necessary.
yeah, and I
Child
think,
means a person under the age of 18. This is what we have. Let me just say this, Ramola, because this is
mhm.
really important as well. In the UK, we have a massive case called Shirley Oak Children's Home, whereby these children, and there's a number of children's homes, child care facilities where the children were sexually abused in the most horrific ways. Only now, because it's been in the news recently, now we're seeing that the people, after many, many years, most of these people are in their 50s now
Hmm.
and above. They're only now looking at giving these people compensation, and even then they're being stingy about it. Many of the people have committed suicide. Um, so you're talking about this culture being a culture that has many cases already of children being in institutional care, end up being sexually abused. And we're seeing in most of those cases, there's been no justice for those children. Adults now, and there's still been no justice for them. And so when you look at this removal of children in a climate where child trafficking is not being investigated in the UK, there's very little done about it. All the people that have come forward to be able to flag this up. This is why we now have protests against the entertainment industry, because it's basically been accepted. So to me, this could be definitely and very much look like a mechanism to be able to take children, remove children, traffic children without anybody being able to do about it. What say you, Ramola? That's my last
That is
question today.
frightening. Actually, that's terrifying to even imagine. But certainly, the climate that we are discovering we are living in, with such excessive child trafficking going on, suggests that it's entirely possible, because the very same structure, overarching structure that has permitted this child trafficking is still in place, and it's connected through our child protective services. It's connected through contractors working with them. It's connected to these government edifices that currently inhere. And so the question becomes, well, this is not a safe situation. And we as parents, as grandparents, we need to look at it and think, well, are we prepared to
Put your
actually
children at
accept
risk.
these? Yeah, exactly. So, are
You
we
know, there's a
prepared to
hamster.
accept this? Isn't it an issue of jurisdiction, of permitting such a thing to occur? To say, okay, these laws are something that, we agree with. So I don't know. This brings up this whole question of sovereignty to me, and this
Yeah,
is something that
absolutely.
frequently comes up.
Absolutely. And also, I want to flag up the hamster case, because the
Yeah.
hamsters with the two little whistleblower children, which I think was that 2015, 20, I mean, it's been going for a while,
Yes. Yeah.
whereby two little children at the age of 7 and was it 8 and 9 or 7 and 8, something around those ages,
Hmm.
they flagged up that their teachers were involved, the social services were involved. I mean, everybody who was a protective person in a position of authority was involved in the sodomy and the abuse of children in the most horrific ways. I mean, they talked about cutting off babies' heads, babies being trafficked and be boxed alive. I mean, it's horror story. Anybody, you should check out the hamster story, and that was squashed in the UK. So we have that
2014. I just looked it up.
2014. So under that climate where we know that these types of things are going on, to know that they are now also they're creating these draconian laws under the code rise of COVID-19, we know that 5G makes people ill. So all they have to do is turn on the 5G in the schools. Children are sick. Oh, we take the child. Sorry, your child was sick under the COVID-19 Act. We don't need to tell you where the child is. It was too sick, so we've got it in our custody. Who's got it? Who's got your child? And we must stop referring to children as kids. Kids are billy goats, which they sacrifice. Okay? We must refer to children as children. Stop referring to them as kids. This
That's a great
is
point,
very, very
Seven.
important. So let me do this
Mhm.
very quickly, whiz through this. Now, this is a very interesting one that people should look at. It's on BitChute. The pandemic is the billionaire's ultimate asset stripping operation. So let's see what else I've got. This me and Alpha, we did this with Miles Johnson.
Brilliant. Do post the links. Send me the links. I'll post it below the video.
Okay, and so this is these Belarus, at least 19 journalists detained on election day. I heard that they were saying that they're going to announce that if Trump wins the general election, they're going to announce that he didn't on all the news networks. It was Simon Park. He did an interview recently and he got inside intel to say if Trump wins the elections, all the news networks are going to come together and they're going to all announce that he didn't, exactly as they did with me. I won my case, and they basically put it in journals that I didn't in order to sabotage me and shut me down. This is why I had to get my courtroom audios to prove that I won. This is a tactic they do, and they're saying they're going to do that to Trump. But that's a story. I don't know anything about the story. I tweeted it anyway, and it says at least 19 journalists were detained and many others were prevented from covering the Belarusian presidential election held on Sunday. Right, so this is to do with Lebanon. Entire government protests triggered by Beirut explosion. What's this? BBC admits it spent decades conspiring with MI5. And that's on the Canary Extraordinary. So basically the BBC were actually admitting it. There was something I wanted to show you. Look, oh, this is terrible, people. This is terrible, people. This is terrible, people. This is
Oh,
basically
yes, I saw
called
this and I could
panda
not
eyes,
believe
and you see
this.
them doing that to mock that this is what is being done to children. To take adrenochrome. I mean, it
And
says it
whoever put this together, I mean, actually did a good job of just showing in an instant, what's really happening. You've got celebrities over here. You've got people who have great talent like Lady Gaga, engaging in this kind of show, while
is,
being part of a system that actually engages in extreme, insane, beyond insane cruelty to children.
it
Um,
says it is a panda eyes. Let me pull it up a bit. Panda eyes, and it was tweeted by someone called Dina on the August the 8th. And Gavino, SSD underscore pain. Anyway, I don't know. I think they're replying to those people. Panda eyes. It is pedophile slang for child sodomy. When a child is forcibly sodomized, it can welt into black circles due to the trauma involved, making their eyes have this panda-like effect. There's apparently selling online panda eyes for the pedo community, as well as pedophiles joking about this online with each other, talking about children. There are many innocent symbols and codes used relevant to perversion, like pizza for little girl lover, hot dogs is little boy lover, panda is one of the symbols, believe it or not. Anyway,
This
it's
is an atrocity. It's a crime against humanity, and you have to wonder how are these so-called celebrities walking free with doing something like this, And how is anybody connected with this kind of extreme crime walking free? Why isn't the FBI focused on that? Why are they coming after us for engaging in news dissemination?
it's heartbreaking, Ramola. It's heartbreaking for anybody. It's heartbreaking. I'm going to stop sharing now. But those are my news stories for now.
Yeah, I'm so sorry, Seven. That is just horrifying because when it comes down to it, when you actually sit and think about what's happening to these children, and these children, it's so easy for children to be exploited and abused in this fashion. Nobody would even know, you know, Children could be abducted, children could be kidnapped, they could be kept in a room somewhere, in a house somewhere. And I hear, and of course, we hear about the dams and the tunnels and all that, but they could just be held in somebody's house and this could be done to them. So this has to do with very, very sick minds, very sick people, very sick minds who engage in this kind of atrocity against children. And unfortunately, what we are learning is that these sick minds and sick people are connected to our child protective services, to our departments of children and families. And this is why this is really the moment for every single parent, every single person who cares about children to stand up and question the structure as we have it, question the system as we have it, hold people accountable, you know? And when we find out that something like this is being done, we absolutely must hold people accountable. You know, Seven, I wanted to talk. This is a connection, of course, with what the larger picture of what you're talking about, but it connects especially going back to New Zealand, going back to Jacinda Ardern. I just want to share screen, if you don't mind, and talk about that for a second. This,
I want to just quickly say as well to all the people that are involved in Save the Children. I just want to commend you all because it's gone on for too long. It's gone on for too long, and most of us, I don't think, would be able to even look at the stuff that's being done. We wouldn't be able to look at it because it's so horrific. It's so cruel. Like, how do people become so cruel? These people are narcissists. They're psychopaths. How do people, human beings, not have any concern about the feelings of other people? You got people going around in life and they have no concern about what they do to other people. They just care about their own amusement, their own desire. Anyway, Ramola, continue. Sorry.
yeah, no, thank you. I think people who are working on this, who are speaking out, who are doing those protests and rallies and holding up signs are doing a great thing. They're standing up. We need people standing up everywhere, around the world. So that is important because this has to be called out. It has to be stopped by everybody. I wanted to go back to this issue of, the ability to take people and to take children. Um, the Washington state governor a little while ago made a statement about precisely that. We can come to your doorstep, we can forcibly test you, and we can remove children from your care if it's found that an adult has COVID-19, as if COVID-19 is the bubonic plague and not a simple flu that could be simply cured with, a few simple things such as vitamin C and zinc and HCQ, which they're trying to suppress. And over here in the US, we also have acts. There's I think Dr. Sherry Tenpenny has done a show on it. It's called the PrEP Act, I think. It's the Public Health and Emergency Preparedness Act, which also has some draconian provisions in it. And that, warrants a separate show probably, but Dr. Tenpenny has done a great show on it, so I suggest that people find that as well. So here's the news about New Zealand. So New Zealand says it's going to put people into mandatory quarantine camps, and every activity they engage in is going to be monitored, and people who refuse to be tested will be forced to stay in the camps for a longer duration. So this is Jacinda Ardern right here, the Prime Minister of New Zealand. And
What's this article, Ramona, so people can pull it up for people that are watching right now
yes,
and
this
they can
is
try and type it in.
Feel
So,
free, go to greatgameindia.com. It's a great site, by the way. They do a great job. They're like a truth media outfit out in India, and they cover a lot of what's going on currently, and they do a lot of research, so they present a lot of information.
and it's August the 14th, 2020. So it's only a few days ago, this
Correct.
particular.
August
Go ahead.
14th. Yeah. So if you go down, basically, what they're saying is the use of quarantine facilities marks a major departure from how positive cases were managed by health officials. Now, it's really interesting because in the middle of July, New Zealand was stating that, it had very few cases. They were sort of congratulating themselves. And there was an article in The Guardian, let me see if it comes up actually, which was talking about how, no, this is all, okay. Oh, here it is. This is it. I was looking at it. This is from July 2020, And research finds citizens had high level of knowledge about coronavirus. New Zealand beat COVID-19 by trusting leaders and following advice. So I think this is like a false flag headline and false flag article, which is role modeling or live action role playing. It's kind of giving a signal to all readers saying that if you trust your leaders, if you follow all advice, then you're going to be free of COVID-19 and your life will return to normal.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Basically, it's like take your vaccine,
Mhm.
trust your doctor, take it. You know, do
That's
you think
exactly.
Bill Gates' his children are having that vaccine? No, hell no. He
Absolutely
said it
not.
himself. He would never give those vaccines. None of his children. I think the doctors that treated his children said came out and they said these children do not have any vaccines. He would
Right.
never do that to his children, but he wants to do it to your children.
I know. And he and the rest of his ilk, they don't do it to their kids. They want to do it to our kids because they're into depopulation and dehumanization and degradation of every kind, defamation of the human gene, you name it. So, what I found interesting in this article, the July article, was that university researchers were involved and they found compliance with basic hygiene practices and trust in authorities was at nearly 100%. So in other words,
What?
they went and surveyed a bunch of people, and they
In New
came,
Zealand?
yes, universities in New Zealand, and according to them, they found that New Zealand knew about the disease. They knew how it was spread. They adopted hand washing behaviors. 9 out of 10 said they practiced social distancing. So researchers concluded almost all New Zealanders correctly understand important facts about the coronavirus. Important facts meaning the ones that, the government leaders are sort of standing at the podium and demanding that they accept. About 9 in 10 know about the symptoms, protective behaviors, and asymptomatic transmission, correctly identified false or misleading statements. So basically, because of that, they make this statement, and it's published in the Guardian, which is, as we know, a British newspaper, right?
Mm.
Although now it's online as well.
It's a
So
propaganda paper. It's a
it's
propaganda machine.
And
It's
you can
not a
see the
news
propaganda
one.
right here if you dissect this. So these university researchers come along and say that it's because of New Zealand's high compliance with basic required hygiene practices and their trust in authorities and the simple, clear health messages conveyed by the so-called authorities communicated with kindness and empathy which are resonating with people even when they are demanding tough changes. And of course, you have an Indian lecturer at the School of Communication, Journalism and Marketing making this statement. We came together as a country, said Dr. Jagadish Thakur, in part because we believed in our political and health experts to deliver, and they did. So you see, this is an example of the Indian diaspora, sadly and unfortunately, who has gone all over the world and simply caved in and now become mouthpieces of government propaganda and can't think for themselves. So that's just my
Basically, this is the model that every country wants to adopt for good little slaves, basically.
correct.
Because you're told little slaves. I want to make a point, Ramola, just a quick point, to
Hmm.
say something about the hand sanitizers,
Sure.
okay, that people are using on your hand.
Hmm.
Now, when it comes to gender um, transitioning, who are gender changing from one sex to another,
Hmm.
they use gels. They use the gels to put them on their wrists and put them in different parts of the body to help them with the hormones and stuff. Now you're taking in these gels and you're rubbing them all over your hand, and it's very easy for these gels to get into your skin and get into your
Nanotech
pores,
hydrogels. Yes, exactly.
right? And you know that the skin is the third kidney, right? And so whatever you put on your skin is going to go right to your bloodstream.
Into your
Okay?
bloodstream.
So you need to, for you people that are heaping on this stuff, you have no idea. If you're making it yourself, it's a different thing entirely, and you know what the components are. But if you're going to shops and pumping this stuff onto your hands. You have no idea. You women, you could grow a beard next next year. You don't know what you've taken into your system, because they're using these types of medications when it comes to gender. What's it? Refinement. What is it called, Ramola? There's a name.
For what precisely?
When you change from one sex to another. So if a woman wants to become a man and a man wants to become
Oh, the
gender
transgender thing.
reassignment, I
Oh,
think it is. Gender
gender reassignment surgery. Oh, okay.
yes. The part of the medication is these gels. So bear that in mind when you put in these things. Stop putting these things on your hand. Use good soap and water. It always works and it always will work. Yeah?
Yeah, that's actually a great point. And, some research needs to be done and some information needs to be shared on what exactly is in those gels, what kind of nanotech is in those gels, what exactly is it doing? So that is very interesting. So to just go back to this, this was July 2020, and New Zealand was congratulating itself on being such a compliant society. And now we've got Jacinda Ardern saying, oh, the numbers have gone up again. We're going to quarantine everybody, and here's what we're going to do.
Mm.
And I want to read out her little statement over here because it is just so insane. Oh, that's Bloomfield, who is part of the health department, the Director General
What's
of
that?
Health.
Is that the same test that we was looking at? Great Game India.
Yes, this is the Great Game India website. This is the same article, New Zealand to put COVID-19 patients into mandatory quarantine camps. I wanted to read what Jacinda Ardern said. Okay, so listen, everybody. We are quarantining everybody. We are also mandating testing. That makes us the most stringent in the world. Now, she's taking real glee in the fact that she's
And
the most
who is
stringent.
she? She's the,
Prime, she's the
she's the
Prime
Prime
Minister
Minister.
of New
The
Zealand.
Prime Minister of New Zealand. Oh yeah, Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern or something.
Yes, what's her name? Ardern, I think. Ardern, Prime Minister
Yeah.
Ardern.
Okay.
So
So,
Jacinda Ardern, there it is. Yeah. So that makes us the most stringent in the world. There are countries that are requiring self-isolation, We're taking it a bit further because you see, this is a competition in the realm of, extreme fascism. If anyone moves into a common area or is getting some fresh air, which is all monitored, no one can do that on their own. Oh, you are now in prison. This is a vast open air concentration camp. You are in Guantanamo, although you thought you were in New Zealand, the paradise of the world. They can only leave or be in a space to get a little bit of fresh air if they are supervised, because, of course, it's a quarantine facility. We have put in
wow.
millions of dollars into supporting that to happen. So she's kind of bragging that she's thrown a lot of money, like good taxpayer money, into getting a massive surveillance and monitoring system in place with all kinds of cameras and probably, millimeter wave through wall scanners and things like that. Because this is part of the other dark side of what's going on. Since 9/11, the surveillance industry worldwide has simply exploded. The kind of technology they have at their fingertips to literally monitor everyone to an extreme level is just, off the charts. It's insane.
Wow.
So this
That's
is an opportunity.
abuse.
It's an opportunity. Saying it's a healthcare facility, quarantining. They're literally monitoring and surveilling.
So basically, we've got people who are running the trafficking and running all these things in control of positions of power.
Mhm.
Now, criminalizing, penalizing the victims and the parents. So basically, they want to be able to do what they do to those of us who have been targeted for the last 17
Correct.
years. How long have you
Exactly.
been targeted, Ramona?
7 years since 2013, since the
Wow.
fall of
So,
2013.
so 2013, and you get pulsed weapons, you get all kinds of abuse. And so they want to be able to do all of the things that they've been doing behind closed doors. And they're effectively making criminality the norm
The norm. Very
for
good.
average
Exactly. Thank you
people,
for saying that. That's precisely what they're doing. The
criminality.
criminality of extreme surveillance, extreme monitoring, covert implantation, and the use of all kinds of modern technologies from the EMF spectrum, which include
Mm,
milliwave scanners, etc. They're making that the norm. And they're actually announcing it. This is like they're, what is it, hiding it in plain sight? They're openly announcing it so everybody hears it. We're not going to let you go out and get a bit of fresh air exercise on your own without severe monitoring. No one can do it on their own. She's not talking to prisoners, she's not talking to hardcore criminals. She's talking to the everyday man and woman. Everybody on the planet. Well, everyone in New Zealand, right? Everybody
and,
who's
and
just
this is what they're currently doing. I've noticed in the UK now they're starting to ramp up the numbers. There is actually a site. There's a video that went around where you can actually type in any three numbers randomly, and it will tell you COVID-19 cases. If you put in 625, it will say there's 625 cases of COVID-19.
We did that on our show last night when we were talking with the Australian pair, Dia Beltran and Jimothy Masters. Dia
Right,
did that on the show. She just asked us for random numbers. We did that and she looked it up. And sure enough, Poland and Spain and various
right.
places.
We should maybe try and do that if we can get an opportunity for 2 minutes on this show, because we need to show people that inflating the numbers deliberately now, because it's August and they want to try to quarantine again by September. So
They
now they're
do. They
beginning
do.
to raise the numbers again. And as we saw in this particular episode, we showed you earlier, they've said that they're exaggerating the numbers and it's a scandal.
It
Okay.
is. It is.
So,
Unfortunately, Seven, we're going to have to wrap up the show very soon.
yeah, yeah.
So let me just finish this bit about Jacinta, and then I want to talk about two inspiring videos, and that's all I've got for tonight. I don't know what else you
Okay.
have. Yeah.
I'm
So
done. I'm done.
you're
Yeah.
done? Okay, so let me
The
wrap it
floor's
up.
yours.
Let me wrap it
Yes.
up right here. I just wanted to read the whole of this quote over here in this article because all of it is just so outrageous. So going back to what she says here, and this is important. This is Jacinta Ardern speaking. I have a number of questions about people refusing. What do we do if someone refuses to be tested? Well, they can't now. If someone refuses in our facilities to be tested, they have to keep staying. So they won't be allowed to leave after 14 days. They have to stay on for another 14 days. So it's a
Wow.
pretty, so let me just finish reading before we comment. So it's a pretty good incentive. You either get your test done and make sure you're cleared, or we'll keep you in a facility longer. So I think most people will look at it and say, I will take the test. I mean, this
This
is
is mind
outright.
control.
This is mind control. It's unlawful. It sounds criminal to me because this is promising indefinite incarceration of of a perfectly lawful person, perfectly lawful citizen. Anybody just daring, anyone daring not to take the test is being told that, sorry, you don't have a choice. We're going to keep you and hold you and incarcerate you until you do it. I mean, isn't that sort of the definition of torture? Isn't that what they do? We're going to break your legs till you confess that you killed this man. That's kind of what she's doing.
Absolutely. Innocent people that are healthy, basically.
Hmm.
And we know that we've seen in the other, what was it, World at Risk document of the what was it, what was
The
the
Global Preparedness Monitoring Board, GPMB.
GPMB?
Hmm.
Right. So if you put that in GPMB, you're going to get the Global Preparedness Monitoring. What's the last word?
Board, like Board of Governors board.
Okay. You're
It's a
going to
very
see.
unpoetic, unmemorable kind of name. This is why we all stumble
Right.
with it.
So you got to
GPMB.
connect that to this, and then you're going to see that shows you that this is all staged in order to put people back into Nazi Germany and slavery 2.0. Continue, Ramola.
Yeah, absolutely. So, this is pretty much what I wanted to do. I just wanted to draw attention to what this woman has actually said. I mean, just because she's sort of got herself situated in a position of power right now, this is extreme abuse of power. This is government overreach. She cannot promise to torture people indefinitely. You know, she cannot promise to hold people indefinitely until they confess that they're going to take the test. It's like a torture confession. It's like a confession wreaked under torture, obtained under torture. And as you
Absolutely.
pointed out, it's innocent, healthy people. So, and critically thinking people. So, if you are innocent, healthy, critically thinking, and you decide, I'm not going to take that test, it's horrible. It goes right up into my nose, goes up to my near my brain. God knows what's in it. It might give me COVID. I'm not going to take the test. So, if you decide that, then you're going to be
Gestapo.
incarcerated.
Gestapo is going to come onto view. That's what basically they're saying.
This is so
This is Nazi Germany, slavery 2.0. That's what it is, if the people
totally.
allow it. Hence, we have all these demonstrations, we have everybody becoming vocal, and people are getting involved. I mean, it's just absolute abuse. You know,
This is
it's
abuse,
criminal.
and this is why I personally think what Jacinda Ardern has actually done for the rest of the world, for literally the entire planet currently, is she has, set herself up. She's just missing the mustache. She set herself up as Adolf Hitler and simply indicated to the rest of the world that this is the moment. Perk up and take notice. This is the moment where we are telling you we are going to, incarcerate you. We are going to do things to you you will not like. But we are telling you we're going to do this. And so
So
if you're interested in protesting, now is the time. If you want to say no, you have no jurisdiction over us, now is the time. So,
you have to say now.
that's what I recommend to people. Now is the time to say no.
I
You've,
want to also pull up, lift it up a bit, Ramola. It says mandatory quarantine camps. Look at the word mandatory.
yes,
So
exactly.
basically, it used to be called FEMA camps. So they've got a new word now, quarantine camps.
That's a
So
very good
they want to
point. Yeah.
quarantine healthy people. Basically, we want to put healthy people into prison camps. This is the
That's
new word
exactly
for
right.
nasty. You can change this to concentration camps. See, camps? Mandatory concentration camp. That's what these
Hmm.
are. This is what, and they're putting it Nazi Germany. You got to read between the lines, people. They're using this thing here to bring about Nazi Germany and slavery 2.0 so that they can take it. How they can do. We're talking about people that are criminals.
And they're calling everybody a
Reporting this.
patient, but this is not true. Calling everybody who's asymptomatic a patient, a putative COVID-19 patient who can be subjected to this mandate, the so-called mandatory quarantine camp. I mean, it's the point at which people really need to start speaking out. And I hope that New Zealand will wake up and speak out. I know there are people in New Zealand who are very smart, very intelligent, very aware, critical thinkers out there, and who are questioning this notion of jurisdiction and power of the government, and in looking into issues of sovereignty and standing on their own. And indeed, this is the moment. This is the moment to really
They
stand up and
have
speak up.
in Australia, we have pretty much the same thing going on there. I mean, there was a report. I don't know if you've seen that report about somebody actually from Australia. It's on my Facebook page. If you go on my Facebook page and you scroll down, there is a post by somebody who's in Australia who says they can't go out. They can't, they can only walk for an hour a day. Can. That's what's going on. It's full-scale Nazi Germany has been reported in Australia right now, and that's what they're trying to bring into the rest of the place. So the thing is, the difference between them getting away with this and not is you, because it can't just me and Ramola and a few other people that are, flagging all of this stuff up. It needs to be, everybody needs to be on board, whether you're in Africa, whether you're in Brazil, whether you're in Sweden, whether you're in Norway, wherever you are. I know that actually, Italy, on my Facebook page, there is actually a post about Bill Gates being Italy charging these people with crimes against humanity, because these are not governments.
Hmm.
You've got to understand there is a law, and it's called ultra virus. I've spoken about it a lot. Ultra, look it up. ULTRA virus, VIRES.
I
high
remember you spoke
risk.
very forcefully and powerfully about it during Sasha Stone's summit, one of his summits, right?
Yeah, it
We
was the
have to.
ICNJ.
I meant to do this. I will do this. Seven. I will extract that little bit of video and post it, in a tweet so people can hear you talking about it. That was absolutely intense. What you and Alfred did on his summit. That was pretty
Wow,
intense.
thank you, Ramola. The point is
Mm.
that that is a law. These are corporations now. There is no government. What we have is self-serving corporate interests that have taken over and usurped people's positions of power. So you have something called ultravirus, which is beyond the scope of powers because we, the people, give these people the powers. It's not the other way around. We are the boss. Yeah. And because we're sleeping on the job, the majority of people have got a mask on and they're half asleep on the job. These people are taking the piss. They're taking it down. That's what's going on right now, people. Ultravirus, actually, and anybody who's a lawyer out there, you need to look up because obviously we call them government, but these are not governments anymore. They no longer have the people's interests at heart, as Ramola's just flagged up. So carry on, Ramola, because I know we've got limited time. Please, I just wanted to get, because it's so important to know that law is on our side. It means they've stepped beyond the scope of the powers that we, the people, have afforded them. Ultravirus, intravirus means that they're inside the scope, they're doing okay. Yeah, they've gone beyond what they are entitled to do with humanity, and they're taking it to town now, and it's time to put it back. You need to see Ramola's previous video. What's the video called where you're showing about the inflation of numbers? Because she shows you how they're doing it.
The
Ramola,
inflation of numbers. Well, I did a news break just recently. I think it was a couple of days ago. News break 83, I think, about inflation of numbers in central Illinois. A conversation with the county coroner. Newsbreak 81 was the one about the world at risk, those two documents, World at Risk and International Health Regulations 2005. I'll post the links below and, just give me a little while, a few hours or, a day, and I'll have a few links below the video. So those are good links to check out. The other, and, I do want to close out the show, so I just wanted to mention two videos that I watched recently that are absolutely powerful and earth-shaking, and that I highly recommend everybody go and watch. You can go look it up right now on YouTube. One is a talk by Martin Lee, somewhere in the UK, in London, I think. Where he was talking pretty much about what's going on and why people need to speak out. Really powerful talk. And I'll post the link to that. It's been going the rounds on Facebook, I think, and that's how somebody sent it to me. And then also on Twitter, I guess. And then the other one is a talk that you had actually posted on your channel, Seven, and it's a talk by Kate Shamarani,
oh
and
yeah,
it's
that's
something called Urgent Call to Action or something like that.
yeah,
And
it's
it's
on our
about
page.
it's
Mm,
about this protest that's coming up, but she took some time and she really spelled out why it's important for people to understand that what's going on is not about a pandemic, but it's about something much larger. And she actually connected it to abortion as well, by the way. Because she was speaking about abortion from the medical point of view as a nurse who's assisted in abortions, and talking about where the parts of the fetuses go, the fetal cell
mm,
tissue, and the
mm,
grotesque practices that
mm,
constitute part of abortion, and how we as a society have all acquiesced and consented to abortion from a pro-choice kind of perspective, a feminist kind of perspective, saying it's a woman's body, etc. But on the other hand, it's great harm to children, and we are talking about abortions right up to the 28-week margin now, which many Democrats have consented to in the US, and many people in the UK have also consented to, right? So, it's up to people to begin to think clearly about what really is happening here. And she also made the remark, by the way, about Black populations suffering the greatest loss of population through abortion at the time of birth or pre-birth. So those are interesting points that she made from a medical point of view. And she also kind of pulled in a great deal of other information, but she also gave a really rousing call to action, for people to get up off their houses and do something. So I
Mm,
just thought super powerful voice, fabulous video. I'm sharing it every day.
fantastic. Fantastic. It's on my channel as well, Solutionaries Media Network, SOULUPIONARIES Media Network on YouTube, and also on Brighteon as well, BRITHTEON. I've only just opened the channel, so there's just one video. I think it's the video that we did previously, episode 1 of this news break. But I want to say this in regards to what Kate Shamarani and what you've just flagged up. Please be responsible with your physical partners, your sexual partners. Find somebody that you love, and because the consequences of illicit entangles with people have consequences to other lives, children that come into this world. We need to take more responsibility as human beings for our practices. People think about the pleasure, they don't think about the consequences, what happens afterwards. And it's the life that comes afterwards who suffers. And more often than not, there's kind of cognitive dissonance to the parents and the adults involved. They just think about, okay, they just want to get their fix. And they don't think about how the impact karmically as well, spiritually, the karma of doing that is heavy. So, let's move forward consciously. Nobody's perfect. People make mistakes in life, okay? Nobody's saying anybody's perfect. But what we're saying is here in relation to the whole abortion thing, we don't need that. You need to be responsible. Think about who you're getting with. Don't just lie down with anybody. You know what I mean? Take care. Let's take more care of the people that are coming behind us, is what I want to say.
That's a very important point. Thank you for saying that,
Mm.
Seven, because, it's not just the very young, it's also the older who, look to abortion as a solution. But a little thinking in advance about consequences might very well be
Yeah,
the thing to do, to set everybody on the right path over here.
yeah.
So difficult things to think about,
Yes,
but
important. One more
important things
thing,
to think about.
Ramola,
Yeah,
is that we're going into a time. This is an opportunity to clean house. This is an opportunity to get back to right order. Divine order is the right order. And that's where we should be heading towards. Nobody's perfect. Everybody has done stuff in their life that they're not proud of. But we now, from this position, we have right now the veil is lifted, and every shit people do is come to the light. It doesn't matter whatever you think is hidden, what you do in the dark is coming out in the light. It's what it is. It's a time of karma. But that time of karma should not be perceived as a punishment. It should be welcomed, because there needs to be changes. There needs to be changes. Some people's head has been in the gutter. Honestly, sorry, I'm just being real. We need to make changes on an individual level where we're going into divine order, that we're taking responsibility, accountability for each and every one of our own lives and how we deal with each other, how we deal with ourselves going forward. It's so important right now, people. I can speak more on it. I'll make another video probably on my own time. But yeah, I know that Ramola, you've got another show coming up
we
as
do.
well.
We're right at the point of closing the show, actually.
Yeah,
But that's all great advice and, a good reminder to everybody. And on that note, perhaps, now is the time to close the show. So we'll thank everybody for watching, and we'll be back in a couple
thank
of
you.
weeks with more news and views, I guess. which
Yeah,
we both freely hand out. So
yeah. But don't
tune
forget
in.
to like, share, and subscribe. Share it viral, because you know there's some heavy censorship, so we rely on everybody participating. I share people's videos all over the place. I don't just share my own videos and Ramola's videos and Alfred's videos. I share everybody's videos. If you send me a good video, I'll get it out. You know, anybody that knows me knows I do. So please pay that forward. Share this information that will save people's lives, that will wake people up. Please share it. Like, share, subscribe to our channel. Subscribe to Ramola's channel is Ramola D Report on YouTube. RAMOLA Report on YouTube. And my channel is Solutionaries Media Network,
UT,
SOULTION.
UTION,
Yes,
ARIAS.
Solutionaries Media. You can see it on here anyway. It's written on
Yes,
here,
absolutely. We've
Solutionaries
shown it, I
Media
think.
Network.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah,
I'll
so
post a few links, so it'll be there.
so click the bell as well, because on my channel they keep my video numbers down, so I don't know how many videos. The more people subscribe, the lower the numbers go on my videos. So I have no idea how many people are watching. So I need you guys to get information out and also report on it, not just sharing, but also report. Take the information and do your own reports about them, because we need everybody to be awake. Mainstream media is no longer, doesn't exist. We have to recognize they're not doing their job. They're not going to tell you the truth. It's up to us. We are now the media officially. So we have to, each and every one of us, do what you can, even if it's just on your mobile phone, that you say, did you know about schools, they're removing children, or whatever you've seen on this. Share the information. If you can't share the video, share the information. Thank you, everybody. Much love, peace, and blessings to everybody. Be safe, be wise, and speak out, people. Speak out, take your power back. Thank you, Ramona, for having me on again. I love you, my sister. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
much
Much love
love,
to
Seven.
you.
Thank you
Thank
very much to you. Thanks very
thank
much for
you.
tonight. Thank you for all of the information and for, rousing the populace, inspiring, and, helping inform and get people on the right track, one hopes. So
Thank
thank you,
you.
thank you. And so thanks everyone for watching. We'll say goodnight for now and see you another time. Bye for now.
Okay.